don't know. It just kind of dulled everything. I don't think there was one specific piece that was hard. I mean, it definitely sucked last year seeing none of my family. That hurt. Honestly, how much it is open to how corrupt our society is. Like, I've never really looked into it or cared to look into it, and now just like keeping up with news and actually researching things, it's just kind of gut-wrenching.
Definitely like the school part was really hard, because when I was in an in-person school, I think I had my stuff together more, or at least it was easier to do that. But when I wasn't at school, I kind of like, I don't know, it made me really depressed. And I don't know, I used to have like a lot of school spirit, and I was really into stuff like that. I loved being at school. But, you know, when the pandemic happened, I didn't have school. I just like was alone, and that wasn't fun. So
I think having to adjust everything in my life at the drop of a hat. I went from being able to see whoever I wanted without a mask, without the worry of getting sick or getting other people sick, to constantly being anxious, especially about getting the people around me sick. I spent a lot of my summer in Colorado with my grandparents, and that was like the biggest thing I was worried about, was seeing people and possibly carrying something to them and getting them sick. And I think just the timing of it sucked. I mean, like, it's college, especially like freshman year, like it's supposed to be fun. This is what everyone raves about. And then it's all kind of taken away in the blink of an eye.
Just how much more seriously minor illnesses are taken now. Like, it's just hard now. Like, if you take like a family member in just because like they have a cold or something, all of a sudden people act like they're radioactive or something, and like you can't go into the same room as them or anything. Even if you bring them in for non like COVID related illnesses. Like, I just brought my dad in to the hospital this past week for a heart issue, and they still didn't let anybody go in with him. So I think that's like the hardest part, is everyone just immediately jumps to the conclusion that it's COVID.
Probably, yeah. What? Well, I definitely feel like I would have saved a lot of money, as well as anxiety just about online schooling, as well as I feel like I didn't learn as much when I was doing online schooling, just because I couldn't interact with my professors and peers as much. So I definitely think that like took me a step backwards instead of forwards.
Probably not. I mean, I think going to school like was a good structure for me, so I don't think I'd have been able to like set aside that money to go do that. But I don't know. It's touch and go, I feel like, because if housing would have been different, maybe, but.
No, I wouldn't have taken a gap year. I'm pretty much like, I'm a person who wants to be on set and get everything done with my life, almost kind of like education-wise right away. That way I can move on to the next step, so I probably wouldn't have.
I already knew the restrictions and stipulations that colleges were going to place on students, but because I'm in athletics, the NCAA was providing an additional eligibility year, and I thought, well, you know, I'm better off going to college and, you know, taking that year as eligibility, not using it, and just, you know, using it as a practice year, a year to like get acclimated.
That is a really difficult question, because this is really all I've ever done. So it's hard to say like, oh, I would have quit my job and done something different, because this is really all I know. And it was unfortunate. It was difficult. And then the year following was even a bigger challenge, trying to go through and actually play with all the precautions. I think now that we're getting a little bit more open, it's going to be well worth it, I think, this year. So I don't wish I was doing anything else. We had some fun on social media, and it honestly gave us a lot of time, or gave me a lot of time, put a lot of different things in perspective too, to take that time off, and I was able to keep my job, which a lot of people weren't. So kind of hard to say I'd rather be doing something different or wish I was doing something different, because a lot of people's lives changed for the worse during that. And I was at least able to keep my job and never have to deal with unemployment or anything like that. So I would probably say no.
I did not enjoy it compared to learning in person. Obviously, I would like to learn in person more than being online, but I wouldn't say enjoyed it. I would have said tolerated it.
No. In high school, the way they did it was, the transition was really bad. They didn't have barely any online lectures. They just had all documents sending to us, and it was just absolute overload of work. And once I got to college, it was better because it had already been a year of doing it. But I mean, it was still there wasn't a communication with professors, I felt either. So I didn't really get to know them, and then they didn't the connection of having them help me out on assignments. They couldn't do that.
Well, I didn't really like learning online, but I did like online classes for the fact that I could multitask other classes. So the pointless classes that you were required to take, that was nice to take online just because I could work on homework or paint my nails or do whatever. But then the classes I should pay attention in, it really sucked, especially not being able to ask a teacher or anything in person for help.
The only thing I enjoyed about online schooling was pretty much the option to be attendant in class. Last year with the hybrid option, it would be, or cohorts. So if we had a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, you could only come in on one day of the week. What I did like about that was just the freedom to just do other things, and I did add more research and more studies to myself in these classes. But in terms of attending class, I didn't like it because it drive down the professor and student relationship. I didn't like that.
Yes, I was definitely lazy at the beginning. Well, during COVID, I didn't really study, just because it was just hard to learn anyways, like I said before. And now it was hurting me a lot, the first month or two of this semester, and now I'm getting back to how I used to study.
Since before the pandemic. Yes, I had to, get better at, being an adult and making good academic decisions.
I don't think my study habits have changed tremendously. I may have studied less over the online period, but now I'm back to normal, back to studying for a test or homework or whatever's coming up, trying to be prepared for that. But no, I don't say they changed tremendously because of that.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on my phone and stuff, so my studying's never really that good, but it was not really that good before either, so yeah.
I never used to really listen to music or watch Netflix or anything while doing homework before COVID, but then when it hit, I was definitely one computer was having Criminal Minds on while I was doing homework, so now I'm more distracted learning kind of, but it also enhances my multitasking skills, so.
Lonely. I spent a lot of time at work, and my family, I was always worried about my family and getting them sick, so I didn't see my friends very often, and when I was out of the house, I was usually just at work and then back at home.
How has your social life changed?
I feel like my circle has gotten a lot smaller, and I feel like a lot of that has just been who I choose to see. Also, I mean, during the peak of COVID and like the peak of the pandemic, there were a lot of people I didn't want to see because I knew they weren't taking certain precautions that I needed to because of like being on a sport and, you know, living with my family still, like at home. And so I think that definitely shrunk who I chose to like seek out and hang out with.
I got a lot more awkward.
That's embarrassing.
I know.
Okay, so did like the pandemic take away your social skills?
To an extent, I think. I think I was like, I remember when I first like went to work this summer and was meeting all these new people that I've never talked to before. I was so awkward. I mean, now I'm better, kind of. But it sucked.
Yeah.
I was with the same people for a year.
It was pretty bad. I mean, I feel like that's how it is for most people, unless they're like breaking the rules a lot. But it was pretty bad at first. Since the pandemic, well, we're kind of still in it, but since lockdown, yeah, it's a lot better than what it was.
Somewhat restricting, I guess. Obviously, you couldn't like hang out with like your friends at a given time because of everything that was happening with the world at hand. So it was restricting. Less like physical, like socializing. Like it's more so like online. If you had FaceTime, you could FaceTime people. If you had like Teams or Zoom or whatever, you might be able to do that and like figure something out. But it was somewhat more isolating, I would say. Yeah.
Non-existent. Wasn't able to see the people I wanted to see, and there was the constant worry of who could get me sick, who I would get sick if I was exposed, all that. Okay. How has your social life changed? At first, it was hard to kind of get back into the social aspect again, just because with not interacting with people for that big chunk of time, kind of forgot how to socialize and talk to people. But since then, it has improved again.
I think let me try this again. My social life changed. I spent a lot more time with myself than like going out and stuff, which I think is one, because of the pandemic, because it's a little easier to not like have to go see people. I guess I have an excuse to stay in. And also I think it's just college, like going away from friends that I've known. I'm okay with like not making a whole ton of new ones. So
yeah, I've definitely just opened up to more like social gatherings for friends instead of just focusing on everything. And COVID really helped me like realize like it doesn't like focusing on school and everything doesn't really matter if like you can't have that, so you might as well just focus on what makes you happy. So hanging out with friends definitely helped.
There wasn't much. If we did anything, it was with family. A lot of game nights. We kind of kept to ourselves a little bit. It was mainly just my cousins. If I went somewhere, I went to different places. I went to my mom's sisters and then my mom's nieces, so my cousin's house. The two places that I went, the only people I saw, it was tough. I honestly thought that getting out of the house and grocery shopping was social interaction. And that's crazy to think, because normally you're like, I don't want to deal with anybody when you're grocery shopping or anything like that. But during the pandemic, I took advantage a little bit of people not wanting to grocery shop, and Instacart became huge. So I would do that to make a little extra money. And that would be social interaction for me, going out and shopping for people and then delivering their groceries. So.
Yes. Moderna.
I have.
Yes, I have received the vaccine.
I have received both of my doses of my vaccine, and then I'm planning on getting my booster soon.
Yes.
I did. I got 2 doses of the Pfizer.
Yes, I got my 2 doses and I plan on getting my booster soon.
Yes, I had mine in April.
Yes, I am fully vaccinated, yeah.
I did get the vaccine.
Okay.
I will not be getting a COVID vaccine. I don't have it right now. So
No, I have not received the COVID-19 vaccine.
Will you be attaining the COVID-19 vaccine?
I will not be taking the COVID-19 vaccine
Why?
because I do not believe in it. Mostly because I don't trust that it'll be healthy for me in my future if anything were to happen. Yeah, there's just not enough studies for it for me to feel comfortable taking it. I think it's fine. Last year when we had to wear it outside, that was pretty annoying. But I mean, it's just in campus inside now. I think that's very reasonable when you're in a class with however many people you're not with normally.
I think it's the dumbest thing ever.
Why?
I don't believe in masks. They're not doing anything to help. They're just there. I feel like you should be able to choose if you want to wear a mask, then go for it. But if you feel you don't need to, then I feel like it's just a person's choice and they shouldn't be making us.
I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with wearing a mask. It's not that serious. It's just a mask.
I don't love it. I can't lie. I hate wearing the masks. But I do respect it, and I wear mine. I mean, I wish I didn't have to, but I think everyone wishes that. But I think there's just, I understand that I have to.
So COVID is a public health concern, and there obviously is a precaution to be taken with masks. At first, I was kind of iffy with it, I guess, because it is something new, and also I come from family that doesn't perceive it in the way that I perceive it as. So it was new, but honestly I'm starting to appreciate it now, more so in the cold when you're outside, because it gets so cold and then it just warms up my face outside. So there's a plus in that. So there we go.
I hate the mask mandate. I honestly think it should be if you feel comfortable taking off, and if you don't want to wear it, you don't have to.
I don't care about it too much. I'm totally fine with whatever I need to do to protect the people around me and to protect people that I care about. So if that means that I have to wear a mask when I'm indoors, I will survive and I think I'll be okay.
I mean, obviously it's annoying at times, but I understand why it's enforced.
Well, so far, Wisconsin's not had, anything, and it's frustrating, but, again, I'm, completely fine with wearing masks for as long as it takes for this to be, way died down than it is. So, I find it frustrating in, classes and, walking around campus and stuff when I see people not having one or, just having it on their chin or something. It's definitely very frustrating, but there's sometimes it's there's nothing. I don't have the energy to give into that, I guess.
I think at the beginning of COVID and when COVID was first arising and we didn't really know what was happening, masking was a good option. But at a point now, if COVID numbers are lowering, I think it should be optional.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the mask mandate. I think it's quite honestly a joke, because most people don't actually wear the mask that actually work. Because it also, I think it decreases socialization on campus. I know last year, especially, there was people, and I was at times where I just didn't really connect with people the same way I can do off campus. I think, it's hard to read people's gestures. It's hard to read people's faces when they have a mask on. And I think it decreases your ability to talk to people consciously, rather than yeah, you can still talk to people with a mask on, but consciously you're less likely to, because you're closed off, you're behind a shield, you're behind something that's preventing your main mode of communication.
I thought it was a great way to get people vaccinated. There's so many people that could care less about it, and I think it sucks that in our society we need incentives to do something, but in order to keep the larger population of people safe, it's what needed to happen to not force people, but make them look into the vaccine, see if it's something they actually want to do, and decide from there. I think the incentive just helped give them that push a little bit.
I don't know how I feel about it completely, just because I feel like we are already at 70% or higher, and we still are wearing masks, and I feel like there's not really any incentive other than the scholarships that have been awarded, but they haven't given names for those who have, so it's hard to tell if they actually have given out scholarships or have went forward with that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty rad. I think people should be vaccinated.
I like it. I mean, I didn't win anything, which kind of sucks, but I feel like it was a good way to get people motivated, even if I know some people kind of took it as like a bribe, but I feel like it was a bribe for the right thing, just because getting that vaccination percentage up at the beginning especially was essentially what was going to let the mask mandate be lifted on campus. Obviously with the new variant and stuff, that's a whole different thing to take into consideration, but I had no issues with it.
I think it's a good way to incentivize students. However, I think if the university wanted to do better ways, I think there were, because if we compared other incentive programs to what other states had done, there was like a definitive prize or whatever they would receive for getting that vaccine, whereas if you're getting these scholarships, granted it's a lot of money, but it wasn't like a definitive amount of money, because it was like a drawing. It wasn't like you weren't for sure to get it.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I honestly did not agree with the fact of almost bribing people to get the vaccine just so they could get college money or to get gifts, free clothes, or anything. I think it is an option that you should do on free will and not feel pressured by peers, friends, or parents and family.
I think it's fine. I don't really see a problem with it. It's like not making anybody do anything, but good incentive for people who are on the fence and not sure.
I filled it out when they sent it out, but I don't see much coming from it. I guess I haven't seen anyone win anything, so it doesn't feel like it's actually happening. Like, if someone wins a scholarship, great, but like, I could also see how people just completely forget about it and then it goes under the rug kind of thing. So, whatever, I guess.
Really wish I would have had like $7,000, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to get people to not force them to get vaccinated, but to suggest for them to. Like, you do that for everything. You have to have an incentive, so that's just the incentive for this.
I mean, I'd rather see an educational side of the program rather than the bribery that the university is trying to promote. I mean, I think the bribery side or the incentive side is kind of giving me more doubt, and it gives a lot of people more doubt because they're like, well, if they're bribing me to do it, what's my actual reason to do something? In terms of that, I think it's up to their own decision. I think I wouldn't say harassment, but the constant reminder to get vaccinated on campus is maybe a little much.
I personally will not push anyone on our team to get it. Although we have the highest rate in the department, with I believe 94% vaccination rate on our team. I'm never gonna single out the few that we have that aren't, and I'm never going to push them to get it. It's everyone's personal decision, I think. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but it's people's choice. That's kind of just what I believe in all facets. So at least I'm consistent. There's a lot of people that say it's your choice for certain things, but not for other things. At least I'm consistent with it's your choice to get it.
I don't know, because looking at these freshmen and sophomores now, like, they never experienced college how we did. Even like classrooms and labs and the MSC isn't set up how it used to be. They don't even know how it was like before, and I don't know. I feel like it's going to grow into something different with like a whole new wave of people just making college how they can make it the best for themselves, but I don't know.
I don't think it'll ever go back to being completely normal, but I'm hoping that Stout can at least get rid of the mask mandate and can get more of the in-person classes back. I feel like they'll still keep the online just because it has helped them get ahead so much and it's offering more to college students, especially like taking more credits. I feel like it's easier for students to take more when they have some online options, just so it fits better in their schedules.
Well, I don't really have anything to compare it to, but no, I don't think it will be the same, but also I don't think anywhere will be the same. And I don't know if it really needs to go back to how it was.
I think so. I think like it's just like a transition period over time. Like it'll take a bit for things to like not necessarily like go back to normal, like what was normal, but it will go back to like how we originally were at, and more campus life activities would be brought to campus. People would be more involved. Just getting out of this like transition period.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so. I mean, at some point there comes a time, like just in our environment in general, where COVID's not going to go away. It's going to be like every other illness. It's going to be like the flu. That's why we have flu shots. And eventually you have to learn to live with it. So I hope that it goes back to normal. And I think that as long as everyone does what they need to do, that it can go back to normal. Yeah.
Do you think it will go back to normal in your time here?
No.
I mean, I'm sure eventually it'll kind of get back to some sort of normal, but I didn't really get a chance to experience what it used to be for that long before. Like at this point in time, I've been at Stout when there's been all the COVID mandates and stuff, as opposed to the time prior.
I mean, I think even like it's been changing back to like the normal that other people know this last year, which is nice to see, like going back in classes and stuff. But yeah, not knowing what it looked like, I guess I'm not really missing something that wasn't there. So like this is fine and good to me. Like, yes, student groups are a little weird, or dining is still kind of tough to be around, but like it's still working, and I think it's going as good as they can get it, I guess. So.
Mm-hmm. I would like to say it would be the same. I know like there's a fireside cafe. I don't really know anything about that. But I think as maybe like I definitely think like after Christmas break there will be more hope to things returning back to normal. But everything just takes time. So I think with time things will generally get back to normal.
I do. I mean, if you watch the NFL right now, it's basically back to normal. Fans, if they're outside, don't have to wear masks. Inside the arena, people are wearing masks, which, you know, as the vaccination rate goes up, maybe that changes. But even here, not even talking professional sports, even here, even with masks, it still seems like it's back to normal. Everyone just kind of has that slight inconvenience that you're wearing a mask inside, but I think it does, especially watching college football right now on TV. It's basically back to normal. So